Former military president, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, has disclosed that one of the reasons he led the overthrow of General Muhammadu Buhari as head of state in 1985 was his holier-than-thou posturing. Babangida, commonly called IBB, also alleged Buhari's decision to spy on his cause, among other reasons, in his new book, A Journey in Service, an Autobiography. Babangida was chief of army staff to Buhari, who had also ousted Shehu Shagari's civilian government in the December 31, 1983 coup. He said in the book that Buhari's policies and leadership style also made him dissatisfied with the government. Babangida alleged that Buhari and his then deputy, Brigadier Tunde IDIAGBON, carried themselves as saints and monopolized power to the exclusion of the rest of the military. The book read, after the military coup that replaced the civilian government of Shehu Shagari with a military regime led by Major General Muhammadu Buhari, Ibrahim Babangida assumed the role of Chief of Army Staff. However, he became increasingly dissatisfied with the Buhari government's policies and leadership style, which he believed were detrimental to the nation's progress. This is an excerpt from the book A Journey in Service, an autobiography by the man himself, Badamasi Babangida. Professor Kila Rufai, I'll come to Professor Kila first. Your take on this story, was that justification for an ousting, for an overthrow? And of course, beyond this particular excerpt, a lot of reactions have followed, now that some people have read the book and have, some thoughts around this. Your take on this story?
Well, I think, for some of us, it's not a new version of why Babangida and others overthrew Buhari. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the way he positions it. There was a better case in the, especially in the declaration announcement made by Joshua Dongoyaro, in which the focus, those who remember that speech, the focus of that speech after the consultation with my military colleague, Brigadier Joshua Dongoyaro, we have decided to put an end to the economic mess. That was more inspiring, it was bolder, it was more justifiable, because the focus then was on the fact that the economy was going bad. Essential items were being rationed. Those were the big case. And there was allusion to violation of human rights. So, so let's put it this way. The Chronicle seems to be bigger than history. And that's a terrible thing. Normally, history will be bigger than Chronicle because it allows you time to gather facts and gather your reflections. I'm afraid IBB is not coming out very well from this book. The big IBB that was painted is coming out frail and a desire to be liked. The Latin word is piacione, somebody who wants to be liked. Not necessarily narcissist, but somebody who just wants to be liked. He's just looking for a way, he almost wants to be a saint. That is not very helpful. And the reactions that are coming should be expected. I think OBJ, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, foresaw this reaction when he told him, yes, that brace yourself for the reaction of people. Those are people who know Nigerians. I wish they knew, they acted that way before their actions, while they were in power, their knowledge of Nigerians.
Interesting. You talk about wanting to be liked. I think maybe at the end of people's lives, when they begin to reflect and think and know that, okay, the end is near, perhaps they want to be liked. They want to rewrite some wrongs. I don't know if this book has been able to rewrite what is perceived as the wrongs of his administration. Rufai, your take on this story?
So the book is supposed to tell his own part of the story. So if he says his justification was the fact that Buhari and IDIAGBON was holier than thou, that's his own justification. He also further said, there was sort of like a lot of cult of populism, the queuing culture. People had to queue for everything. War against the discipline and corruption. We stay with some people, but we didn't stay with some people. Yeah. He also talked about the fact that there was an economic malaise. If you had read further down in the book, it was not just only about the fact that it was holier than that. I think that's just a headline. He talked about the economic problem and all of that. And he talked about the remedy he put to the economic problem, which was liberalization of the sector, of the economy. We all know liberalization of the banking sector and other sectors. But a lot of people will also blame him for that economic decadence, because after he came in '86, then the Naira couldn't hold sway against the dollar any longer. We all remember the big debates going with IMF bullet or peel. We all remember that. And we all remember the side he took. Yeah. Yes, some people will argue because of that we can have the banks today and all of that. But some people will argue that once we started the foreign exchange market in 86, the Naira never looked back. The argument then was going to balance out at about $3 to $1, but it went up to 11. Then during the Abacha days, it was up to the 60s, thereabout. Then it never balanced out again. So there are many conflicting sides of what he has said, but his own narrative out there. But there are also a lot of questions as regards how the economy was run. Could it have been run better? There are also a lot of questions as regards, yes, he opened up this sector to a lot of people, but people also talked about the fact that cronyism set in. Like how he opened up the sector for Nigerians to be able to indigenously own oil well, but they also said it went to some people that were close to him. In fact, some people have alluded to the fact that, oh, maybe those are the people that are coming to pay back the favor today. Then when you now look at it downwards, as the narrative starts to cascade out as regards, what now happened afterwards. There are still some key questions. I was reading Lasio Olagbeju's piece, very brilliant piece today. And this is a critical junction. In fact, at some point, because I've been privy to read the book even before the book came out, and these were some of the questions at some point. And probably at some point, we have to ask Ndukai Rabo to please state his own side of that story.
Yeah, there are many
as regards the unsigned paper, the announcement, who gave it to him. I had spoken to my dear Elder Ndukai Rabo about it, but probably when he's ready to grant his own interview, he will say his own part. I will not tell you what he had told me. Yeah. So there are many sides to it. So that's what a lot of people say. If he says he takes responsibility now that it was a Abacha's process, people are also saying, was it that you were not in control?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because a lot of the argument was also the fact that prior to this time, it was a general understanding that he was calling Abacha Khalifa. Khalifa, which is supposed to be successor. And when you call somebody Khalifa, and you're also talking about the transition, which a lot of people had said that your approach to the transition was Maradonic in the first place, because you're pushing up from 89 to 90 to 91 to 92. And finally, somebody got in there, and I was reading another piece this morning that was saying that there had been moves to even stop Abiola from getting in there in the first place. That's why I was asking on Friday, that if Abiola had not won, would they have given power to Tofa? So there are many calculations here and there, but the thing is, IBB told his own part of the story. There are still many other generals that have not been able to tell their own part of the story. That's why I'm calling on Yakubu Gowon to tell his own side of the story. It's also going to add to our historical interface in this country. There's no how the book is not going to generate controversy, we're not going to pick holes. But this is own understanding of the things that play out. And you cannot help a man, despite your own opinions, you cannot help a man understand how he feels about things playing out. So please, he has a right. So for everybody that condemns you, you didn't say this, you didn't say that. No, that's IBB's rights. In our understanding and context, we still have to ask a lot of questions. Like I asked on Friday, I won't call. What about people like Ambassador Musba that lost his sight? Yeah. People that were killed. People that were maimed. Delegiwa. He also talked about the Delegiwa factor and said, you know what, these are things that he had, but he takes responsibility for that. He had no control, but he takes responsibility on that. So there will be questions and controversy. And I love this controversy. At least we have one more literature to add to Nigeria's history conversation.
Yeah, I hear you that he's told his own side of the story, and then the other players in this theater should also say their side. The unfortunate thing is that many of these players are no more. A lot of people he's talked about, primarily one of such is General Sani Abacha, is no more. He's gone, and so his children are now left with having to defend, of course, the memory. That's what I'm saying. And what would a child say about their father? My father is the best thing since sliced bread. Which child would come out and say that, yes, I agree with you, my dad was really all that? In fact, it seems like different people are rewriting history to suit their own narrative, yes, and I think that's what the challenge is. I do agree with you that there are people, at least those who are still alive, should do the honors of telling us their side of the story, whether to counter or to agree with. But I do think that, one of the criticisms from this book, aside from his reasons, is the fact that, and this Professor Killer, you said that he's come out trying to absolve himself from a lot of the blame. while still taking responsibility, but saying that, there were circumstances beyond his control. This is how many years later. He had a lot of time in the interim to have done this, but unfortunately, I'm coming out with these, what some people have considered half of the story. And even, the book probably leaves us with more questions than answers to some of the questions that Nigerians have had for so many years. He did explain in the book that beyond the fact that, it wasn't just that he was, they ousted him because he was, President Buhari was closed up, wasn't inclusive. Yes, and that there's some people that there were some decisions he made that they didn't agree with. He spoke very deliberately or very intentionally about the state of the economy. And he said that the style of leadership of President Buhari was reason why the economy was the way it was. And he wasn't happy about the fact that whilst he was focusing on indiscipline and asking people to queue for basic things, the provision of those basic things was lacking as a result of bad leadership. Now, let me just say, I wish he said this before the elections when we brought back Buhari, so that we would have known whether or not.
Some of us posted
because a lot of people had
some of
said
us posted that speech
about
the Buhari thing, reminding people not to vote for Buhari.
But a number of people said that
time.
Because if you look at the second time, I don't know if he managed the economy worse than the first. But remember, a lot of people voted him in as a result of his war against indiscipline. They kept bringing that back and saying that he was anti-corrupt. He was going to fight corruption. Maybe we should have balanced it out with this reminder about the fact that this was how the economy was, and this is the kind of leader he is.
But a lot of people also alluded to the fact that Tunde IDIAGBON did most of the work, not even Buhari.
But that's again. Thank you for bringing that up, because again, the reason why people also said is that he has a very effective vice, and so since he has demonstrated that he allows his vice to actually work,
all the things
it's a very interesting conversation, and that's why I'm glad that you talk about it being a part of our historical annals, and people can look back and actually read and make their own decisions from it. Sometimes, and this is why history is important, the reason why we make the same mistakes today as a people is because we forget historical antecedents. The same way he governed, that's Buhari now, is the same way he governed. I don't think there was a lot of difference at that time.
This history thing you talk about is important. Since Rufai is asking others to come and write their book, when others come and write their book, let us ask them a favor. It is important, an editorial note. When you write your autobiography, you have the right to your narrative, as Rufai has pointed out. But you also have a duty to express your feeling and your view. Yeah. So, for example, a good editorial note, for those who helped put that book together, if we want to be honest, will have been for IBB to have said, okay, they did this thing without me. How did I feel? Was I pained? Was I happy? Did I suffer that night when I saw that democracy at stake? Yeah. Or did I just take it on the chin and move on? Those are the points that we must learn about writing biographies for the autobiographers and for the editors that help put down biographies together. Those are crucial things.
Which was what he tried to demonstrate in this book, to be fair to him. He tried to get, when we talk about his perspective, he also talked about what he felt, how he did. I mean, the detail of it or how in-depth he went, you can argue that. But in terms of how he felt, I don't think it's enough to assuage Nigerians' feelings as to what occurred and the outcome of the annulling of the election and some of the decisions, some of the decisions that he's taken. But I think today we're going to have further conversation. It's still definitely a big topic. People are dissecting the book now. They've been able to hold a copy in their hands. And I agree with you, that Lasisi Olagunju article in the Nigerian Tribune this morning is very detailed. Recommended read, definitely.